Good morning and welcome to A Few Moments with the Rev. I'm Greg Johnson and I want to welcome you to this brief conversation. Today we are beginning a new series. It will be 6 weeks in length and it is entitled The 6 Spiritual Principles of Family Caregiving. Not long ago I did this series. But as this pandemic continues, I am hearing more and more of a need for this conversation. And so I want to share it with you, and I hope that it will help you. Because whether it is family caregiving, whether it is the pandemic of COVID-19, the pandemic of racism, or the issues of addiction and illness, each of them is something that causes us to reach a certain point where we feel totally helpless, where we feel powerless, where the things in our realm of experience, in our earthly experience, on this plane of being, the material plane, just don't seem sufficient. Many people will say they feel like they've hit rock bottom. And I like to remind people there's a blessing in that, because when we hit rock bottom, we find that the rock at the bottom is our source, the divine, the universe. It is God. Whatever word you are comfortable with today, this is not a theological discussion. It is a discussion that helps us remember that just maybe we're not human beings trying to have a spiritual experience. We can get very confused on that one. But in reality, we are human beings, having come from and returning to, but locked in time and space, having a human experience, a spiritual being that we don't remember because we're so busy being locked in time and space. And it's when we come to these enormously difficult situations that we're catapulted into a spiritual dimension, and we begin to grow, and we begin to connect, and we begin to study, and we begin to find support as we go deeper within our lives. So I urge you to think about that as an overall concept for these 6 sessions. I'm basing these 6 sessions on a paper, on a program actually, that was prepared many years ago by the wonderful organization that was founded by the actor-director Mike Nichols and Cynthia O'Neill here in New York back in the AIDS crisis, and it was in existence for over 25 years, doing incredible work called Friends Indeed. Yes, it began with the AIDS world, but it grew to be death and dying, caregiving. It became a huge movement that blessed and helped many people. It was very helpful in my late husband's life when our son died. It gave him the direction that he was not able to find in any other setting, and I've always been extremely grateful. The 6 spiritual principles of family caregiving. Number 1, and that's what we're looking at today, and I'm going to read it from their card, and then we'll talk briefly about it. Take care of yourself. Caring for friends or family members who are ill, helpless, fragile, or frightened can be exhausting physically, emotionally, and spiritually. That's why it's essential to take care of yourself first, so that you're able to care for others out of your overflow. Now, certainly support groups help that along, and Friends Indeed did that for many people, and they continue in varied online forms. So if you're interested, Google the big group, Google Friends Indeed, and I'm certain that you could be part of one of those groups. But I love the last sentence, and it's one that we so often forget. It is essential to take care of yourself first, so that you're able to care for others out of your overflow, out of your abundance. In family caregiving, we often say there's only one rule. Before I can care for you, I've got to care for myself. It's very much the story of the old oxygen mask on the airplane, and having been in plane crash, I know exactly how important that is. However, right now we're experiencing it in the pandemic with the wearing of our masks. Because yes, we're caring for ourselves with it indeed, but we're also doing it as a sign of love. And I hope and pray that you are supporting that. This is not a political issue. It is an issue of good health and intelligent caregiving. So please, be part of the resolution. Now, we spoke of caregiving as being exhausting physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and it can be. Therefore, we need to remember certain physical things: our diet, our exercise, keeping our appointments. Perhaps when you take your care recipient to the doctor, you can at the same time have your medical appointments. Medical groups are happy to do that. And if you simply inform them that you are on a very exhausting schedule as a family caregiver, but you need to have your blood pressure checked, your diabetes, whatever issues you may be having, so that you can maintain your medical help at the same time as you are having the care recipient receiving his or her treatment. That's number one. Emotionally. Emotionally, this is a time, as I've just said, where the human plane truly does not seem to be sufficient. And the answers really are not there, because the answers are much greater. We're talking about the entirety of life. And therefore we need support groups. We need groups of people who are going through very similar things to us. And there are many support groups online. The Alzheimer's Association. Here in New York, there's an incredible organization called Caring Kind. Caring Kind. And each of these, if you Google them, you can get information and participate, quite frankly, in this new reality from just about any part in the world. Avail yourself of these. Do you go to a therapist? Don't cancel those appointments. You may have to do it telephonically. I'm a minister, and I always say this because often people don't think this, and I can't see that it could be more incorrect. I'm a minister who has for a very long time had my therapist, and I am deeply grateful to him and continue to learn. Because as I take in, I need someone with whom I can release that and then be ready, refreshed, to go forward and help. Also, a therapist is extremely important in helping us look at feelings, remembering that feelings are not facts, but feelings are real. They need to be honored, they need to be dealt with, and to let go. But we often need someone to help us. And spiritually, I urge you, bookend your day in a quiet time of prayer. Join a group that does meditation. And some of these are very, very short, 10 minutes perhaps. But log on while your care recipient is at rest. Log on and have a moment of quiet meditation for yourself. Perhaps there are mantras, affirmations that resonate with you. Write them down. Paste them in the kitchen. Paste them by your desk. Paste them somewhere where you're going to see them at a very difficult moment for you. You can look up and realize you are not alone. And that, my dear friends, is the greatest gift we can learn as we enter into the world of the 6 spiritual principles for family caregiving. For they work for the pandemic of COVID, the pandemic of racism, the pandemic of all the addictions that may be in the world. And often we can be dealing with more than one. Thank you for being with me this morning. I look forward to seeing you next Monday. God bless and have a wonderful, wonderful week, remembering you are not alone. Take care.